Okay, looks like it's time for part 2. We'll pick up with Washout. For some reason my camera just automatically shuts off after anywhere from 17 to 18 minutes. I don't know why. Again, I haven't bothered to read the instructions, but I probably should. Anyway, the last thought on Washout is it's great for tokens. Somebody has a bunch of elemental tokens, somebody has a bunch of elf tokens. In this deck, okay, Washout green, kiss your tokens goodbye. Okay, Urborg, Tomb of Yawgmoth. All lands become swamps. Obviously, if you're seeing this, somewhere in this pile is the Cabal Coffers that matches this. Pairs up with it nicely. Talisman of Dominance. Standard mana rock. 2 colorless. I can add 1 mana to my mana pool, or I can add blue or black and take a damage for my trouble for doing so. Island. Limdul's Vault. Rob Alexander art. Beautiful card. Black-blue instant. Excuse me. Look at the top 5 cards in my library. As many times as I choose, I may pay 1 life to put those cards in the bottom of my library and look at the next 5 cards in my library. And then when I decide to stop this, shuffle all but the top 5 cards in my library, then put them on top in any order. Effects that prevent or redirect damage cannot be used to counter this loss of life. So basically it's a quick filtering. Idea is, at the end of my predecessor's turn, whoever's turn would finish and then mine would start. Limdul's Vault as an instant. And then I just stack whatever 5 cards I think are going to help me the most on top of my library. I think the highest I've ever gone is 6 iterations of this. Paid 6 life and looked at 30 cards. But eventually I found something that helped. Okay, so, and there's the Cabal Coffers that goes with the Urborg Tomb of Yawgmoth. 2, tap, add 1 black fairy swamp you control. Obviously with Urborg, that's a lot of swamps. Memory Erosion, 4, blue-black hybrid. I can play an instant or sorcery from one of my opponent's graveyard at instant speed. Very useful. To be fair, usually this just sits in my hand. Usually I just look at it. Lately, or last few sessions, it seems, nobody's really playing that many interesting instants or sorceries. So, more often than not, this just picks up a counterspell. But it's nice to have it on hand. Vesuvian Doppelganger, then Quentin Hoover art. This is another card I've always loved, ever since Revised. Personally, I've had this copy for years. So she comes into play, copies a creature, any creature, yours, theirs, doesn't matter. And then during her upkeep, you can switch it, have it copy something else. Now, the original Revised wording is interesting. And I remember one of the reasons they took this card out, cards like it, Clone, for example, is because they couldn't quite figure out how to make it work with the new templating. And fair enough, with Clone, once they kind of figured out, they put it in Onslaught, and then it became kind of a staple to where they overprinted it to Oblivion, and Clone is pretty much worthless. But at least they got the wording right. Thassa, God of the Sea. 3 for an indestructible 5/5 if she's been turned on by your other permanents. I have to have 5 blue mana to achieve the devotion required. During my upkeep, scry 1. Spend 1 in a blue. Target creature becomes unblockable till end of turn. And it can be activated multiple times. Merfolk Looter. Tap. Draw a card, discard a card. 1/1 for 2. Not much to say about that. normal. School at Water's Edge. 1 blue, tap, untap legendary permanent, or add 1 blue. This is really here for the flavor. I don't have a lot of tap abilities. I don't have a lot of legendary permanents that I need to use the activation on or even want to use activation on. I just like the card. I like looking at it, so it's in the deck. Island. Rexiol, the Risen Deep. 3, 2 blue, 1 black for a 5/8 Island Walk, Swamp Walk. Whenever it hits an opponent, I can cast an instant or sorcery from the graveyard without paying its mana cost, and then that card will be exiled. You might have noticed that I don't have a lot of high power creatures in the deck. Everything pretty much caps out at 5 as far as power. When I get to the card that feeds that, I'll let you know. Bad River, the Mirage Dual Land for Island or Swamp. This is not as good as the Zendikar Dual Lands or the Onslaught Dual Lands. Not at all. But it's still nice in Commander, and I really wish Wizards would finish the cycle. So this cycle, for allied lands, came out in Mirage, and then we've had nothing. Now I understand it comes into play tapped, and that's a limitation. And that's why it wouldn't be interesting in Modern, it could be interesting in Standard, but in EDH, it's perfectly fine. So, Rosewater, if you're listening, finish the cycle, eh? Dimir Aqueduct. Filtlet comes into play, return land I control to my hand. It can be tapped, so I can tap a land, put this into play tapped, bounce that land back, and it gives me black and blue when I tap it. I think everybody uses these, so not much to explain. Now we're getting into some of the more interesting cards. So Guest Grimoire. Whenever an opponent discards a card from his hand, I may draw a card. I have Words of Waste in here, and it's a good, so I'll set that aside to put it with Words of Waste when I find it, so you can see the combo. That Adele Inquisitor, 1, 2 blue for a 2/2 Island Walking Merfolk Rogue. When she hits an opponent, I can go through the library, find an artifact, and I can cast it that turn. Useful. Urborg. This is another card I have, and mainly because I like it. I like the flavor, I like the art, I like the fact that it's original Legends. It can remove Swamp Walk, but that just isn't relevant. I've never had a game where removing Swamp Walk was relevant. But someday it might be, and I'll be glad I have it. Dimir Cutpurse. 3 for a 2/2 whenever it hits an opponent. They discard a card, I draw a card. Again, it feeds the Spectre theme. He's not a Spectre, he's a Spirit, but he's got half the Spectre ability. So, he's here. Foil Island. I don't have a lot of these. I don't have a lot of foil basic lands. So, the ones I do have, I always try to put into the decks where I'm using that particular basic land. Waste Not. 2 cast and cost enchantment. Whenever an opponent discards a creature, I get a 2/2 black zombie creature token. Need to specify that. Whenever an opponent discards a land card, I add 2 black to my mana pool. Whenever an opponent discards a non-creature, non-land card, draw a card. Actually, it kind of fits here. So, when they discard a card, with this I can draw 2 cards. Okay, so, getting ahead of myself. I'll wait for the card I'm really wanting to show you. Okay, Notion Thief. One of the cards that really upsets people sometimes. 4 for a 3/1 human rogue with flash. Whenever an opponent will draw a card, except the first card they draw each turn, you draw those cards instead. During one game, a friend of mine played his Teferi's Puzzle Box. Teferi's Puzzle Box is, at the beginning of your draw step, count the number of cards in your hand, put those cards in the bottom of the library, and draw that many cards. So, what happened? He played that. He was in a good position. The third opponent that was playing against us was in a good position. I had Sygg and maybe something out. And then I drew Notion Thief. And I'm thinking, okay. So at the end of player 3's turn, flash into play Notion Thief, and then they draw a card. And then Teferi's Puzzle Box triggers. They count their cards, and they put them on the bottom of the library, and then I draw all the cards they would have drawn. It felt pretty good at the time. It was the perfect answer. I could have Puzzle Box in here, but it doesn't fit the rest of the theme of the deck, so I don't. And it's just one of those combos that just seems just too mean. It's just too rough. I kind of felt bad for the third player because he kind of got blindsided. The guy that played the Puzzle Box and was playing the deck around it and screwing with the game state, I did not feel bad for him at all that I was taking his cards. But the other guy did. So that's why he's in here, but Puzzle Box is not. Another Mana Rock, Dimir Signet, 1 colorless, add blue and black to my mana pool. Yuriko, the Tag of Shadow, 3 for a 1/3 human ninja. Well, she's got Commander Ninjutsu, which doesn't really matter because she's not my commander. But I can, as with any ninja, I attack with a creature, and then I can spend the ninjutsu ability, blue-black, if the creature is not blocked, put her into play attacking to replace the creature, and then when it hits an opponent, reveal the top card of your library and put the card into my hand. And each opponent loses life equal to its converted mana cost. I should get the Judge Foil version of this card. Sangromancer. 4, 2 colors, 2 black for a 3/3 flying vampire shaman. Whenever a creature an opponent controls is put in the graveyard from a battlefield, I may gain 3 life. Whenever an opponent discards a card, I may gain 3 life. Now, she's really in here for the discard ability, for regaining life. Sunken Hollow. Just basically a dual land that comes into play tapped, unless I control 2 or more basic lands. Balefoot's Rix, 1 black, 1 blue for a 1/1 flying Death Toucher, and when it comes into play I can draw a card. So this is something I can reuse with the Crystal Shard, or Equilibrium. Soul Ring, Creeping Tar Pit. I actually opened this out of a pack. So I opened a pack of, what was it, Ultimate Masters, I think it was? Opened a pack, got this, thought, hey, that's kind of cool, but not near what I paid for the pack. So I bought another pack, because that's what you do. And in that one, I got the green-red, the name escapes me now, the green-red Manland, which is even cheaper than this one, and that one was not foil. So I stopped. Did not buy any more packs from that set. I learned my lesson. Nykthos, Shrine to Nyx. 2, tap, and I get mana equal to whatever devotion. So if I have 6 black devotion, I get 6 black. If I have 4 blue devotion, I can get 4 blue. It's a really good card. All of my 2 color or my 1 single color decks have this. Anything 3 or up, and it really doesn't matter anymore. Because you're really not going to get the devotion to make it worthwhile reliably. The other Ashiok, Nightmare Weaver. 3 for a 3 loyalty planeswalker. So +2, exile the top 3 cards of opponent's library. Minus X, put a creature that I previously exiled with mana cost X or less onto the battlefield under my control. -10, exile all cards from all opponent's hands and graveyards. I've never hit the ultimate. Usually I exile a few cards from the library, maybe I get 1 creature, and then somebody says, right, I've had enough of that, and kills him. Loxodon Warhammer. 3 mana for a artifact equipment. Equipped creature gets +3/+0, trample, and lifelink. Sword of Cinnamon Steel. Now, in Modern, this card isn't that great. It's not reliable. It's not like Sword of Fire and Ice, Sword of Light and Shadow, where you're very likely to hit the conditions and then to be relevant. So when you hit an opponent with this, and the sword gives protection from black and red to a creature, equipped creature, and +2/+2, destroy a planeswalker and or a creature. And it doesn't have to be the person you attack. So I can equip this, attack somebody that can't block it, then I can blow up this guy's planeswalker and that guy's creature. So it does have a lot of nice flexibility in Commander. Sword of Fire and Ice, same concept. Just protection from blue and red as opposed to black and red. Creature gets +2/+2, and when the creature connects, shock something and draw a card. Shock, of course, being shorthand for deal 2 damage to any valid target. Planeswalker, player, creature. This is a new addition to the deck. I'm not sure how this is going to work. And I know I'm probably going to forget what Encore does on a regular basis. So he's expensive. One of the most powerful creatures in the deck at 6 power, 6 toughness. 6 mana whenever he attacks. Protect a creature card from defending player's graveyard onto the battlefield under my control. So he doesn't even have to connect, he just has to attack, and I get a creature. And this being a discard deck with a lot of discard effects, I should see something interesting in there whenever I do get him out, and he does start attacking. So Encore is 6 and 2 black. And I'm trying to remember what it does. Exile him from a graveyard, create a token copy of him for each opponent I control. Each token attacks one of the players. They can't all attack the same one, they all attack somebody individually. And being copies of him, the ability where whenever they attack, I get a creature from their graveyard triggers. I think that's how it works anyway. Swamp. And I'm about to hit the 18-minute mark, so I'm going to pause it because my camera is going to shut off anyway.